been a while since I've played with the microscope a little bit, so I figured I'd look at a little bit of compost today. This is a sample from some compost. I've been out there for about a year or so. I mean, it's got pine needles and chicken bedding and all kinds of stuff in there. It's working down pretty good, nice and dark. The first thing I did was tested the pH of the water that I'm going to be using for this sample. It is distilled water, and I am using some Hydrion, Hydrion strips. I've got 3 different ones. There's one that kind of covers from 0 to 18 pH, and then if it's a little higher or a little low, I've got ones that are a little more specific to different numbers. But it was around 6 to 7 seems to be what it was. I put 1 milliliter of the compost, not packed down, but kind of hid it on the ground, tabletop to make it settle, with about 9 milliliters of the distilled water for a total of 10 milliliters. And then I inverted it about 20 times softly, not shaking it hard, let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. The pH of that compost with the water was a solid 6 with those strips. So if anything, it actually reduced the pH just a smidge. So anyway, I did that, and then I got a brand new slide, brand new cover slip, cleaned those. Took 1 drop of that mix from the middle of the column in a 10 milliliter tube. My pipette, I expressed it, so I pulled up water, expressed it about 3 times, and then took 1 drop and put on the slide, and that's what I'm using here. And I'm starting off at 4 with a 4x lens on it, so 40 power magnification more or less. And the first thing I'm just doing is running through the slide looking for anything large, any nematodes moving through there, tardigrades, anything large enough to be able to see with 40x magnification easy. So I'm not going to talk constantly through this. I'm just going to let it roll for a little while, and then if I see something significant, then I'll mention it. Again, just looking through, plenty of organic material in this, going slide to side. I see this thing moving, and I'm not really sure what is causing it to move. But kind of focused in a little bit. Looks like a little bit of plant matter of some kind. It's nothing alive. Part of the reason I'm kind of going through this a little faster is trying to stay at okay, at this point, the camera, when it's recording video, it'll only record so much, and then it stops, and you have to start a new file. So this is the second video file, and I think about 6 minutes in here is about when I finally see a good example of a cilia and try to look in a little bit closer. So we're at about 26 3/4 minutes, so at about the 32-minute mark. Kind of put that in my head. You're still seeing some bacteria buzzing around, not huge clumps or anything. Again, this is 1 milliliter of compost combined with 9 milliliters of distilled water to make 10 milliliters total, and this is 1 drop from the center of that water column. Just kind of looking at that thing in the center that's kind of long and narrow and horizontal. Just looking closer at that. I mean, that could be a piece of an antenna from a bug. Oh, the thing coming up, I keep saying ciliate. Not a ciliate, flagellate. You'll see ciliates could have multiple little cilia around and kind of move around quite fast. And a flagellate will have one big whip and may not actually move quite as far or quite as fast, and just kind of whips around a little bit. So it may be a flagellate, not a ciliate. I really haven't seen any ciliates that I can tell. Very likely wrong, but no zoomies, as we say sometimes. And the temperature outside was about 70, so we've been in the 60s and 70s. So this is not, it's not. It should be, biology should be waking up. I mean, Bradford pears are starting to put out blooms. I saw some comfrey starting to come up. Daffodils have been up for a week or so. So we're at least at the edge of spring. Things should be warm enough to be waking up. I'm looking at that kind of burnt orange thing in the left center. Just looking around that organic material, seeing I see clusters of bacteria kind of munching on it and bouncing into it and stuff. I stopped the audio and backed up a little bit here because I don't want to miss this, finding this flagellate. When I start looking for it, I want you to be able to see it. I think I was talking and not paying attention and went over it. Should be coming up in the next minute and a half or so. It was kind of on top of a piece of organic material. There's some kind of a testate amoeba or something, a little bit bottom right of center. think that might be it. Right in the center, there's a small dark piece, and right above it, you see something kind of vibrating around. Yeah, I think if you look at about the 7 or 8 o'clock on that thing kind of bouncing up and down, you might be able to see the flagella. And then I go to my high power magnification trying to find it again, and I don't. I do a little bit of searching here, but I don't seem to be able to find it at the higher magnification. But if you go back to that, I think it's going to be around 33 in a 10 seconds. You might be able to see that flagellate. I'm going to skip through here a little bit. And I believe this is 60x, so it'd be 600 total magnification dry is my high power right now. I've got two different 100s, but it really just, for this, it doesn't seem to do a lot of good to go up to 100. One of them requires oil, one of them is dry. But I think for this, it seems like, most of the work is done around 40 to 100. 400 close enough to really look at some of the bacteria a little bit more, but much more than that, I don't seem to really gain a whole lot. Maybe as I learn more. But I believe we're at 60x or 600 total magnification dry right here. I'm just trying to find that flagellate, and I'm not finding it. I'm looking at that little kind of dark brown thing, and go back to 400x. Trying to find that flagellate again, and I don't find it. And by this time, I'm starting to suspect that I'm probably going to be getting a slide drying out, so I'm just going to try to go on through some more of this for as long as I can. And also, it's getting close to 7 o'clock p.m. here, and I've got a Zoom class with Kelpie Wilson on biochar coming up in about 5 minutes. So I'm trying to rush through some of this to get ready for that class. Not looking at anything specific, just changing focus in case I do see something. That football there in the middle again. Yeah, I need to go back through the class or my book, and really I need to set me up some laminated sheets to remind me of the steps to go through and dilutions and all of that, so that I can be very, very consistent. As I'm practicing this, I need to not just do something it's good to do it just for the fun of it, but I really need to start practicing consistent procedures. Another football there, kind of in the center. Just kind of looking at this piece of fungi or whatever other plant material. I'm going to try to center it up here a little bit and then go to epifluorescence just to see either any phosphorus glowing, or if it happened to be a piece of microplastic of some sort, it would be glowing, very visibly glowing. And again, nothing. So I'm either totally forgetting something, or there's just not a whole lot of phosphorus being taken up and held by any of this organic material. Another one of those little football looking things. Top right there, something kind of zoomed by real quick, but at this point it's not constant enough movement for me to think that it's a ciliate. It very much could be. If there's an air bubble and it's drying out, that could just be the moisture pulling a particle of something up there. And indeed, the slide is starting to dry out here in a little bit. I think we'll start seeing some of the edges of some bubbles. There's another testate amoeba that I spend a little bit of time on and actually get a couple of pictures of. So I've got a couple of still frames of this one. That's why I'm stopped on it so long, as I'm trying to get a couple of still frames. And a piece of fungi here. Looking at that a little bit to get a couple of still frames of that. You can see those kind of moving the air bubble. Another clue would be if all of a sudden you start seeing bacteria and other particles starting to migrate in a given direction, kind of all together, then that means it's drying out, and that's the where the interface, the air and moisture interface would be. Looks like another testate amoeba, but I think I bumped the table when everything jumped right there. Microscope's actually sitting on a TV tray, so it's not real stable. So one thing this is telling me about by videoing the entire process is when I start seeing it dry out, at least for this sample, means I got about 40-45 minutes from the time I put the drop on the slide, put the cover slide on it, to there was significant drying occurring. There's another testate amoeba right in the center. So it kind of gives you an idea of once you make your slide, you've probably got about 30 to 40 minutes, to try to look at everything you want to look on that sample. See, it's kind of moving there. Now this is the air bubble. That wasn't the edge of the slide. That was just the edge of an air bubble. So this is the dried out portion. I keep going, and then we'll find the other side of that air bubble, the area it was. So now we're back in the solution. You can see stuff moving as it's drying out. So when I stop, it looks like everything's moving in the same direction or general direction. That's an indication that it's drying out, and it's kind of pointing you towards the nearest air moisture interface. Pretty much time to quit, and I'll turn everything off, go to my class, and clean my slide off. Try again.